Hey, Laura J here for some naked truth today. Not necessarily in 3 minutes or less, but I'm going to share the message of Linda, a homeless woman in Las Vegas, who I met when I went there for a conference. And I wrote about this story in my book, Fully Committed, The Sacred Sojourn of Now, because it was her that actually helped me see that we are all homeless until we come home to ourselves. And today I got invited to a lovely meeting of freedom fighters and people who are awake and aware and wanting to connect in community, and it was beautiful. And then the conversation near the end with a few of people present who resonate with the religion of their choosing, it disconnected. The train went off the rails. Because I was trying to say the same thing that Linda taught me that day back in 2017 when she was putting her power in my hands, figuratively speaking, because she had prayed for a miracle the night before we had met. And when I showed up and was willing to share my heart with her, but more importantly, sacred space, I was sharing knowledge I thought was significant, and it was, but it was more the heart space, the sacredness, the reminder of her significance that was most transformative, hopefully, for her. But as we sat on the rocky flower bed of the Westin Suites where I was sat when I got to meet her, I was sharing with her the sacred sojourn of the soul as it was at that time, which was not as refined as what it came to be when I got the book published last year. And what's significant is that the whole time, similar to what happened today, I came up against my own resistance to the common belief system around the character of Jesus in the Bible that so many don't realize is based on the papal bulls that were originally wrote on baby skins, but that's not spoke of. So, shall I rescind that comment? Nay. I'll carry on and say, you may be offended by this, as others already were today, without my intention. And one of the women actually shared that as the archetypal mother or grandmother figure, she wished to offer me advice or insight to say that my way of passionately communicating my challenging BS belief systems with two who resonated based on the same BS, and then I, a different set, they did not subscribe to, for it is not written. That advice was to say it calmly so that they don't feel attacked. But the fact is that the tribal belief subscribed to by those who agree with a religion that requires the consumption of all of it at the expense of what is not included in something wrote by the hands of men, regardless of when, all of it is written through us who are here to live it. And then decide whether we will let the sacred or scared prostitute inside decide how we will portray the words that can be deemed truth, yet isn't. That's what we must resonate in our hearts with, to see what is truth and what is not, maybe. I have always struggled with that book particularly because I believe that if there is 99% truth in something, but 1% mistruth hidden amidst the truth, and we don't know how to discern what is truth and what is fiction, then how do we know? So that conversation went downhill rather quickly, and disconnections were made and other connections made as other members stepped forward and joined the conversation in their own way, with different openness and also willingness to partake in the conversation without looking to be offended specifically. Not that anyone was, intentionally. Back to Linda. Back in 2017, when she had seen me to be the miracle she had prayed for, because of that sacred space I held for her in the process that unfolded on those stony and red dust floor that we were sat on. What was amazing was that this whole time I have struggled with my understanding and ideations around the man called Jesus in the book, who was named otherwise. For Jesus, I believe, was the title ascribed to the man who was against organized religion. So how do you bastardize the man who was against that which was then set up in his name? Hey. Okay, so you create a religion around him, naturally. You just spell it H-I-M instead of helping people see that it is the H-Y-M-N that is actually what it's really all about. So Linda placed her power in my hands. And as then I challenged who the man was that she believed in, being the same as the je suis that is an I shy in the book. She said, please don't take Jesus away from me. In the moment she knew that I could have, shook her world in a way her homelessness and history of abuse and everything else she had endured had already done in a way, but that he helped her stay feeling safe within her own self. And in that moment when I knew I had the power over her because she had given it to me freely, I said, you hold on to your belief in Jesus. You hold on to what makes you feel safe. And I said that similar thing to the woman who felt attacked by the fact that I was challenging the concept of God by saying, is all not all things? Which means the exclusion of nothing or none, which means is not the one we each speak of the same? I said, I'm not taking your God concept away. I'm simply trying to say, maybe we're talking about the same thing with a different word, and our words are the boxes that are keeping us safely separate from one another in order to protect BS that was written by the hands of men, even though that's not the story that was wrote, or how it was portrayed by those who needed us to betray ourselves for the sake of the tribal mind that subscribes to the dogma of the religion that religions us. So I hope now this is a more calm explanation of what I tried to share earlier, but don't know how to do in the way that I need to in order to make it okay for those who are entrenched within the trenches of religions, that make them maybe feel like they belong to a tribe that want the world to be good. And yes, the revelations say the way it has been playing out because it was written by the hands of men for us to perform. And the ones who need us to conform to those norms are also aware of the power in leading people down familiar paths. Alas, I cannot. I cannot lead you to familiar territory because your temples, this body of mine, reflecting what you have in your own, me being first person, you being second person, me going too deep on a different rabbit hole track that I'm coming back from now, aware of my tendency to be too much, to say too much, to go in too many different directions. So I simply say, I am doing my best to maneuver my own emotional waters of my inner system, the kingdom within me, where I stand as king, ask king questions, to direct the ions on a quest, that I am doing my best to put forward in a way that others can say, okay, this feels better than that. I want more of this. Where to now? And I say inward. Not to be in a ward of a system, but to dive inward in the inner kingdom of you. So I hope this message means something to you. I imagine it may trigger some of you too. And I would really encourage you to reflect on that. Not in angry words spewed at me, of venom to poison or anger spears to slay the messenger of this day, this message now. I would encourage you to write it down in a private journal, space where you alone can reflect on the progress you'll have made if you don't stay in the story someone else told you. Was the ledge to know because that was as far as they told you that you could go, which is what wisdom leads us to when we step out of the knowledge base, onto and into the wizard's domain of wisdom, lived experience that we not only know, but believe in our heart of hearts, which is the subconscious. I'd love to know what this message means to and for you. So, without sharing your most inward, vulnerable, challenging, or challenged aspects of yourself specifically, publicly, because there is a vulnerability that comes, and then anger and blame and projections that would come on me and my name because you would potentially feel shame for sharing something that you have not fully integrated yet. And I don't blame you for it. If I see comments that are negative or mean, unkind, unjust, I get it. I get where people are at. Different levels, different devils, new neighbors, higher rent, better views. But the reviews don't always match the views, because others seeing you who has climbed to a higher level vibrationally by seeing the hymn of HYMN in the universal song, the one song, universe, we are all singing along to. The reviews of those looking up to when they don't comprehend or understand, do stand under only from the perspective of being under vibrationally, in a lower level. Can't reach, so must attack and bring down. And that is how we have commonly been taught to do what we've been taught to do. And now I say, let's try something new.